You thought, you know what, we're going to have ourselves a really nice Sunday night, a comfortable Metsian series victory, 2 games below 500, right around a half game or so out of a playoff spot. But no, we have to have once again a true power trip by this absolute joke you call an show. And now Edwin Diaz, our star closer who just returned, is now going to be out with an automatic suspension of at least 10 games after being ejected today for sticky substance that even former Met David Cohn said himself on the broadcast that is in fact 100% what happens with your hands at times with simply sweat and rosin and everything that Diaz typically uses. This power trip is ruining America's pastime. As a Mets fan, of course there's bias with my reaction, but I'm fed up. This continues to happen. Even when we saw it with Ronel Blanco earlier this season with the Astros, I felt terrible for him because he's been carving up batters left and right, and he has been since coming back from that suspension. It is an absolute joke what the Mets have to go through. Now Edwin Diaz again, finally coming back from injury of the shoulder impingement. He's riding high as the Mets have been fantastic in this joyful June, and now we have to look at a Mets team that at minimum for the next 10 games, so pretty much the next 2 weeks, you're already without Sean Reed Foley because he was just put on the injured list with shoulder impingement. Now you're going to be out without Mr. Edwin Diaz for the next 10 days, so you just lost 2 of your more valuable relievers in your bullpen and the snap of a finger for a Mets team. And trust me, it's not the end of the world, of course, but it is beyond ridiculous. How you doing, everybody? Sorry for the quick rant to get the show going, but it had to be done. We're back at it with the latest Mets post-game show as the Mets win this one in dramatic fashion. Not dramatic based on the game itself, but dramatic based on what was happening with the end of this ball game and Edwin Diaz. And again, to have David Cohn come out and make the remarks that he did on the broadcast today, if that isn't further proof enough, I don't know what is. There's a reason why it's beyond frustrating how you could see a guy like Clark Schmidt and say I'm butchering the name right now, Domingo Germán, everyone's favorite player, said absolutely nobody, have themselves get their hands washed as really sent by the umps with the Yanks over the past year or so. But no, when it comes to this situation, nope, you're thrown out of the game right away, right? I really want to know what the clear differences are, and I'm sure there will be some clarity through post-game that we hear from Mendoza and others here shortly, but it's frustrating to say the least. But we're back at it to break down the latest ball game here as the Mets take this series again by a final score of 5-2. If you guys are first chiming in live and on replay, happy to have you all in here. Spam those W's in the live chat, folks, because even though that we of course have frustration to begin the show with Edwin Diaz, we of course still have a positive, which is this series victory. So the same way you're going to fly the W in Chicago, we are flying high with those W's here in the WardyNYM chat. And for the comments people on replay and for people watching on Twitter, hit that like, that follow button, that retweet button. But no, as always, I'll only be interacting with our live viewers here on YouTube. But spam the W's, folks. Yoshima with the $2 holla. Thank you so much. Yoshima says MLB wants the Mets to fail. It's confirmed. Who says no? 100% couldn't agree with you more, my man. Spam those W's in the live chat, everybody. Again, I am pissed off. Trust me, I am. We got a lot to break down here. As you guys and gals can see, we're going to get into the highlights. Again, all the key takeaways on the offensive end. What stood out for the Mets in this one? We're going to get into a bit on the pitching and how Luis Severino absolutely carved up batters left and right today with a masterful 6 innings of 0 earned run balls, 0 walks, and 10 strikeouts. You got a bunch of relievers getting involved today too because of Diaz's ejection, which is very frustrating and how that impacts the Mets going further. Thankfully, they have the off day tomorrow before the Subway Series, but then we'll get into a bit on the hitting as well. Again, what worked for the Mets, what didn't. Of course, shouting out our amazing sponsors on the channel, as always, at Sower MLB, the best MLB fantasy game out there, and of course, BetUS, the best sportsbook in the game today. Check them both out with our respective links in the description down below and the live show today. Thank you all so much in advance. All right, folks, let's get to these comments quick. Then we'll do the post-game, of course, jingle that we always do. Then we'll talk a bit more on this ejection, what it means for the Mets, and then get into breaking down this ball game briefly here. Cameron Kier with a $5 donation says, Cameron, what in the world was Diaz thinking? Also, congrats on the baby. Thank you so much. Appreciate that a lot, Cameron. Well, here's the thing. Diaz wasn't thinking that he was going to go out and going to cheat today. I'm very confident in saying Edwin Diaz is not a cheater. He doesn't need to cheat. This is one of those situations where, in my humble opinion, you're having an ump show become bigger than what they really are. And it's continuing to ruin the game, and I don't care what anyone says. I'm fed up with it. It sucks, and now we're without Edwin Diaz for a minimum the next 10 games, because of course we are. Scott Greenwald with the $2 donation says, let's get positive. Vientos is a big, strong man. Marky V, Swaggy V is a big, strong man. We're going to talk about Vientos and his awesome bomb today, snapping that 0 for 14 skid. Dave with the $2 donation says, these umps are the worst, Tyler. Yes, they are. That is an understatement, my friend. Thank you so much again for the donation. Yep, again, he's going to be out until July 6th now, being out for at least 10. YF, thank you for the kind words. Really appreciate that as well. Smith is hurt now, per reports. So now Drew Smith is hurt. Add insult to injury. This Mets bullpen just got absolutely cooked in the matter of seconds. I don't know if that's true regarding Drew Smith. If anyone sees a report regarding Drew Smith, please let me know. I know that obviously he was taken out of the ball game, and he looked a little uncomfortable as he left in this one. I hope it's nothing serious for Drew Smith, but we already got Edwin down. We already got Chaudhry fully down. I know Drew Smith is far from a guy that I want in high leverage situations, but he's still a serviceable reliever. I don't want anyone injured, to say the least, right? So again, this is going to be an up and down, positive while frustrating at the same time post-game segment here. It's everyone watching live on a replay, folks. So we're going to do the post-game jingle, have a little fun, then we're going to rant a bit more about this Edwin Diaz situation, because it kicks the Mets' teeth in for the next 10 days with this bullpen. That's why I'm so pissed off about this, and that sucks out all the excitement, all the positive life away from the series victory, which is still true here. A final score of, yes, that being 5-2. And I have not seen anything on the Drew Smith front, so if we do, we will talk about it, folks. Also, everybody, in case you haven't, please make sure you check out my video that came out earlier today, breaking down the latest Mets news and trade rumors, how they will be in the market to both buy and sell by the deadline. Color me surprised. It's almost like I've been saying this exact same thing for over a month now. But check it out, guys. Thank you all so much in advance. How you call the trainer, and yes, he did, D, great member. How you doing? Hey, Jack with the $20 donation says, congrats on the kid. All I gotta say is that if they're going to eject someone for sticky substance, they should swab their hands and then test it. And it comes back anything other than rosin, then they get the 10 days. I agree. And you want to know what they should also do? Make sure they're checking on the spin rate and the RPMs. Edwin didn't even throw out a pitch there yet. And all we know, especially when it comes to manipulating your pitches, because you're using spider tack and that really sticky substance to get more drop, more break on your pitches, and a higher spin rate. If there isn't a drastic difference in said spin rate, the guy likely isn't trying to do anything nefarious the way that we've seen Garrett Cole do during his time with the Houston Astros, then with the Yanks for a period of time. Trevor Bauer obnoxiously doing it there in Cincinnati to win a Cy Young with his Mickey Mouse little, not championship, but his, you know what I'm trying to say, his award there. It's Mickey Mouse because it's a short season. The same way the Dodgers winning the championship that year is Mickey Mouse. My point is, especially on the spin rates, if you didn't even give the guy a chance to throw out a first pitch there, how are you supposed to know? That's another thing that's very beyond frustrating about this situation. But all right, guys, let's get into it. I hate this buy and sell approach. You can't be both. You absolutely can, Good. It's about what you are buying and what you are selling. Focusing on the now while also being open-minded about the future. But folks, let's let it rip with the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. Shout out, as always, to Greg and Jordan for the official WardyNYM post-game jingle that all you guys and gals just heard there. You either love it or hate it. Either way, we're going to continue to roll. The Mets secure their 13th victory here in the month of June, and they look for more series victories starting Tuesday to get a game one of a two-game set there against the New York Yankees. Everybody, we will have a series preview show live tomorrow with my co-host of the Bridging the Gap podcast, Patrick Hennessy, going over that series preview between between, of course, the Bronx Bombers and the Amazons. Tomorrow, I will also be live at 1 p.m. Eastern in the Bleacher Report app and the Mets segment there, breaking down my early predictions for the Mets ahead of the MLB trade deadline. Make sure you guys check that all out tomorrow. Thank you all so much in advance. All-time Frank the Tank rant incoming, of course, and I'll say this about Frank. Absolutely got schooled by Carlos Mendoza. If you guys didn't see the clip, we saw Frank the Tank. Of course, everybody knows Frank by now. He's at Wrigley. He goes up to Carlos Mendoza yesterday. Mendoza basically gives him a jab saying, what you got for me? What are you going to say? What are your complaints? And Frank pretty much shuts up and has nothing to say. Absolutely steps down as soon as someone steps up to him. And that is the type of stuff that I love from Carlos Mendoza. And for Frank, again, if you're going to freaking talk the talk, you better walk the walk. You've been doing those Frank walks, and those are awesome. I'm happy for you to lose that weight, but make sure that you keep that same mentality if you're going to go rant in your head ass every single night the way that you do. Cameron, thank you so much for the donation. Appreciate that a lot, everybody. We're going to break down the game here in a second, folks. We got roughly 1,500 concurrent viewers live between YouTube and Twitter. Thank you all so much for being here, everybody. Continue to let me know your initial reactions to this unfortunate news that Edwin Diaz has been ejected. He's suspended for an automatic 10 games, unfortunately, and whether it was justified or not, the Mets lose their all-star closer, that $100 million man, for the next couple weeks. Very frustrating to say the least. Ralph, thank you again for that donation. Really means a lot. Cameron as well. Guys are the best. Billy Dottie with the $10 donation. First of all, congrats on being a dad. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm not wearing it in the show today, but I just got some Happy Dad hats, whether you guys like or dislike the drink, 21 and up, of course. Happy Dad, the product's all right. I'm not a huge seltzer guy, but I've always loved the look of those trucker hats, especially, and I said to myself, when I become a dad, I want one of those hats. I finally got one, so don't be surprised if you see me rocking them in the near future here on the channel. And again, I disagree, Elgood, and you'll understand as we get closer to the deadline, but I understand the point of view, though, and I'm happy to have the discourse, no less. Billy, though, says, and the MLB has something against Eddie Cohen. Eddie Cohen, that's 100% true. I hope the Bats carry us through the 2-week stretch of games. Congrats again, Wardy. Billy, thank you so much for the donation. That means a lot, my friend. It really does. Thank you guys all so much for the well wishes. I'm truly overwhelmed by all the thank yous, the kindness, the forms of generosity since making the announcement of my newborn son, Shea Ward, and I absolutely love the name. Rolls off the tongue, and it's electric. I've been having an absolute blast. Haven't got much sleep the past couple days, but we have been rolling here on the channel for the most consistent coverage on all things Mets, as we always do here on WardyNYM, your number one source for all things Mets here on YouTube, everybody. He can appeal. That is true. Edwin Diaz can appeal, but the problem is the likelihood of Edwin winning said appeal, where his suspension is, anything less than, say, 7 games is hard to believe. Either way, you're going to lose Edwin Diaz for, at minimum, probably at least a week's period of time. Usually, you lose these guys for 10 games. So, I'd imagine that's what the process is going to be here for Edwin. Let's not forget Max Scherzer, of course, famously a year and a half ago in LA against the Dodgers, was taken out and suspended. We saw there. He decided not to appeal after initially challenging that idea, and we saw Max, of course, do it. And speaking of Max, he made his season debut for the Rangers, going 5 shutty today. 4 or 5 shutty. Good for him, regardless on where you stand on the Max front, everybody. But all right. Let's talk about this. Let's break it down a bit here. I definitely want to know everyone's reactions. So first and foremost, everybody in the live chat, for people on replay, spam it in the comments all for me. Where do you stand on the Diaz ejection? Simply say, is it justified or not? Give me a yes or a no and spam in the live chat right now. Was what we saw on television today with the sticky substance on his fingers, even after, again, a phenomenal pitcher and David Cohen himself saying that is beyond normal for pitchers to have with what they're currently using in Major League Baseball. Regardless of that viewpoint, I want to know where you guys stand on the Edwin Diaz front, because now, after losing Edwin, after losing SRF, and potentially losing Drew Smith for a period of time, yes, you have internal options in AAA, but it's not something you want to, of course, exacerbate if you don't need to. So now the Mets here, after winning this series, riding high, looking comfortable, now we're in a position where we're all not only frustrated with them after a series victory like this, but now we're concerned on how this bullpen configuration and the lack of depth it's going to have for at minimum the next week or two is going to be. And again, the sky isn't falling. It is not the end of the world, but the Mets are getting screwed over here when so many things have been going right for them because of things that they have single-handedly done themselves. They have stepped the fuck up, are my French. Earmuffs, kiddos. I apologize for that in advance. They've stepped up massively with their offense. They have been the #1 offense in the National League since the start of June. They have also been one of the best offenses in all Major League Baseball throughout that span. Pitching-wise, they have gotten the job done. There has been so many things going right in Mets land, and now you got to throw Edwin Diaz on a suspension. It's an absolute joke, and that's what I have to say about that right now. Dave with the $2 holla says Diaz can still appeal so he can face the Yanks. That is a fair point, and I'm actually glad he said that, but here's the thing. How long will that appeal process be? Because the Mets also have an off day tomorrow. So it's not like he could say, oh, I'm going to appeal it so he's available to pitch tomorrow. Mets' first game isn't until Tuesday, so I'm not sure how quick of a turnaround that appeal process is, so we'll find out on that front, everybody. But all right, guys, let's talk a bit about the ball game, because there was good that came out of this one. There were positives, believe it or not, even with Edwin Diaz, our star closer, getting pulled from this matchup. But there's one final thing that I have for you all before we get into breaking down every aspect of this ball game, everybody, and it's to inform you how you guys and gals today can get involved on an awesome Mets ticket giveaway. We're giving away Mets tickets to 3 lucky winners, and all you guys and gals have to do to enter are these simple following steps, and they are as follows, folks. You got to check out our great friends at Sower MLB, the best MLB fantasy game out there. Simply put, if you guys like MLB The Show, if you like being your own GM, creating your own roster, and then entering weekly tournaments where you can win cash prizes, ticket giveaway prizes, upgraded cards to build your roster better than what it currently is, with players how they perform in real life, enter Sower MLB as a true fantasy game for you. And now today, by just clicking the link down below, our unique link, drafting your team, and entering a free tournament, you were automatically entered for your chance to win a Mets ticket, and we're going to be giving away to 3 lucky winners early next week, so be on the lookout, folks. And by early next week, I mean in the coming days, actually, so we should have winners picked hopefully by Wednesday. These are the 2 rosters I've been rolling with. I did fantastic in my tournaments this week, including this one. Huge production. I ranked all the way 21st out of over 2,100 people. George Kirby, Tanner Scott, we got, of course, Alex Bregman, El Troll, Logan Gilbert, Brian Reynolds, Adley Rutschman, everyone and their mother produced for me huge in this series, and I'm going to be coming out with a nice turnout of a victory in said tournament. So again, guys, check out Sower MLB for all your MLB fantasy needs, and thank you all so much in advance for doing so, and good luck as you guys will have a chance to get those free Mets tickets. But I hop back in this one now. Jeremy Vaccaro, final donation I'll answer before we break down the ball game now. Pissed off Diaz may be crazy when he comes back. Also, Diaper Fun, congrats, brother. I need it. Thank you so much. Your boy just dropped a hundo on diapers yesterday. Please, by all means, if you're going to throw donos here that don't just impact the channel, but if you want to give it for a personal reason, that is more than fine. And thank you so much in advance for that, everybody. It really does mean a lot. You know, it warms my heart. It does. Appreciate the love. Always appreciate everything that you guys have to provide, and of course, support me here on WardyNYM. But to break down the ball game, any by any, folks, let's do it, and then we'll rant a bit more about Edwin Diaz here. We do have some really exciting updates to share. Some exciting, at least. We saw Mr. Kodai Senga have a 20-plus pitch live bullpen. That looked good. He's looking sharp. He will have another live bullpen in the coming days over the next week, and then the Mets will build from there. Senga, who's expected to return to the Mets rotation at some point in the second half of the season post-All-Star break, continues to trend upward in his direction and get back with the club after a couple setbacks from his initial injury heading into the season. Pardon me, everybody. You know how we talked about Christian Scott yesterday after Tyler McGill unfortunately fumbled in his start, going 3 innings and allowing 5 to 6 earned run ball, where Christian Scott is looking to be back in this Mets rotation, and it may begin as soon as this Thursday, as the Mets will be going back to a 6-man rotation after this Yankees series. And Carlos Mendoza did make note that the Mets' exciting right-hander in AAA, Christian Scott, who looked very serviceable at the MLB level for the most part when he was called up for a handful of starts before being sent back down, will likely be called up in the coming days. So again, as we discussed yesterday, expecting rotation changes to happen. A day later, we hear exactly that. It has been so fun this season covering this Mets team, and a lot of the things that us fans kind of put together, the Mets actually act upon and do. Like cutting Joey Wendell, parting ways with guys like Zach Short. You know, of course they were going to drop Jorge Lopez, whether it was justified or not. We understood that situation. Cutting dead weight is something the Mets have had no problem doing. They made abrupt changes in-house this season when needed to their bullpen as well. And I just love that, again, what we see with the eye test as fans is exactly what Carlos Mendoza and David Stearns are picking up and actually acting upon, and not just having us fans rant about us being a better GM than the schmuck there, because we truly feel that way, because this front office is incompetent and can't make proper decisions. So something to add there. Been very happy with the Mets' overall decision-making as a group for a good period of time now. And Mr. Logan Gilbert, Drew Gilbert, the prospect acquired with Ryan Clifford for Justin Verlander a year ago. JV is put on the injured list, as we know, so he may in fact miss that innings hit for his vesting option for the upcoming season, so the Mets might be off the hook there. And now Drew Gilbert, who's been out for the majority of the season in AAA because of a torn hamstring, is looking to arrive back in AAA Syracuse at sometime mid-July. This was a report that came out yesterday, per that being our, awesome, fantastic reporter and Mr. Tim Healy on the beat there for Newsday. James Alba, thank you so much for the $5 donation. James says, people saying Diaz should appeal to face the Yankees. We have 11 games against Washington and Pittsburgh in 10 days. More important to have him then. That's actually a good point, and I agree with you because, look, do I think Diaz is probably going to appeal? Yes, I think there's a chance for that. Do I think you need Diaz for the first game against the Yanks? No, I don't think you need Edwin Diaz for the first game against the Yanks. I think the Mets are going to split that series against the Yanks. I've been feeling that way, as I usually do when the Subway Series matches happen. But yes, you want Edwin in those stretches, as you just said, James. So I tend to agree with you there, my friend. I thank you kindly for that $5 holla. So appreciate you a lot, my man, and happy to have you in here, folks. But all right, guys, let's break down the ball game inning through inning, and I will have a timestamp for my people watching this on replay, so that way you guys know 20 minutes in the shows when we're finally getting into breaking down the ball game and everything that transpired in this one. We got over 600 live viewers on YouTube, everybody. Make sure that like and subscribe button. Help us get a 30K subs for our next short-term goal. Thank you all so much in advance. We do nightly post-game shows, the #1 post-game show here on YouTube. And again, everything in regards not directly affiliated with the Mets or SNY. And help us get to 200 likes for our next short-term goal, folks. Final thing I will say here, everybody, I sincerely apologize for not breaking down the ball game sooner. Two things. One, I will have a prospect report for you all, the biggest takeaways in the farm today that we saw this Sunday in both single, double, and AAA. And secondly, I also am going to have for you guys a quote here on Edwin Diaz in just a minute, because Edwin did just speak to the media. So let's hear what he had to say. Edwin Diaz on being ejected. I just saw a post on Edwin. Let's see if I can find it now. Give me 1 second, everybody. Edwin Diaz. Okay, maybe it's not going to pop up then. Carlos Mendoza speaks on the Edwin Diaz ejection, and I quote, "They thought it was too much. The rules are the rules. We've been through a lot this year, and we'll find a way to get through it." So that's basically that, just a kind of nonchalant answer there from Carlos Mendoza. Dave, thank you for the donation. Says, giving you money and Grimace. Yes, you're the absolute best. Thank you so much for that, my man. Happy to have you in here, as always. Such a great supporter. New to the channel, Southside, happy to have you in here, brother. Welcome, as always, as we break down the latest in Mets land. Now, to get into the ball game, again, we have one final update. Bryce Montez Dioca, flame-throwing right-hander that is working his way back to Syracuse Mets for the Mets to hopefully impact the bullpen at some point in the second half of the season, coming back from TJ surgery or so. Montez Dioca pitched very solid there that we saw in the minor leagues and rehab yesterday as he continues to work his way up there in the minor leagues. So positive side. Now to get into the ballgame finally, Luis Severino against Javier Assad. This was a lopsided matchup. Javier Assad gave up hard contact for days. The soft-tosser did not have enough going today. Southpaw, and for the Mets here, Luis Severino in an offense just had exactly what you would be looking for. Yes, we know that Edwin Diaz is suspended 10 games. That inevitably happens when you are pulled from games now since the rules have changed. But JD Martinez gets the offense started today with a double that we've seen the first. We then get to the bottom of the first half. The Mets do not score with the runners in scoring position. We see Nico Horner with a single. Belly and Suzuki would then strike out to end the inning. So after a hit there by Nico, nothing else transpires. Then as we get to the top of the second, Francisco Alvarez rips a double. Alvarez continues his gap-to-gap and home runs galore. He has been on an absolute heater coming back from injury. We see DJ Stewart with his 1 of 2 hits on the day. Vientos with an unfortunate double play ends the inning there. In the bottom of the second, Luis Severino with his first of multiple 1-2-3 innings of the day. And the top of the third, then we see Harrison Bader with his first of second doubles on the day. And Francisco Lindor does what Francisco Lindor does. One of, if not the best player in all the National League since really batting leadoff. One of the best overall players in the game, going all the way now back to really the middle of, I don't want to say middle of April, but getting into a little bit more in May, especially since batting leadoff. Francisco Lindor, and since he got the standing ovation, has been one of the best true batters starters in all of the National League and a top 10 player in the game, arguably, at least if you're viewing by WAR and WRC Plus throughout that stretch. He has been dominant, and today he ripped a no-doubt towering 2-run home run to give the Mets an early lead. Brandon Nimmo then goes back-to-back. Again, we saw Lindor go oppo from the left side. Brandon Nimmo says, "It's my turn, baby." Nimmo goes oppo bomb. Oppo tacos galore back-to-back. That makes it a 3-run lead for the Mets and a 3-run deficit here for the Chicago Cubs. As we then get on to the bottom of the third, another 1-2-3 inning for Luis Severino. In the bottom of the fourth, then, Cody Bellinger with a single, and we would see Suzuki get on with a fielder's choice. Nothing else transpires, however. For the top of the fifth, Harrison Bader rips his second double of the day for Mr. Bader Bomb. Lindor then receives a hit by pitch, unfortunately. A double steal later, Brandon Nimmo with a walk. Assad is out of the ball game, and JD Martinez versus the reliever has himself an RBI ground out. So the Mets, unfortunately, don't convert more than what they did there, but it's now a 4-0 Metropolitan lead through 5 innings. In the bottom of the fifth, Luis Severino with his third 1-2-3 inning of the day. In the top of the sixth, then, we see Francisco Alvarez with a walk, TJ Stewart with his second hit of the day, both of them being singles, Vientos with a strikeout, and McNeil with a double play would end the inning. Jeff McNeil continues to plummet with his offensive production and plummet his chances to stay in the organization, potentially even as soon as past the trade deadline. And we're going to talk about more of that in our Bleach Report segment that'll be live again at 1 p.m. Eastern in the Bleach Report app tomorrow, hosted by your boy WardyNYM. Now to hop back into this one, everybody, the Mets are up 4-0 in the bottom of 6 for Amaya, the backup catcher there, because Tomas Nido is king for the Chicago Cubs. Amaya with a single, Horner with a hit by pitch, Bush with a strikeout, Bellinger with a strikeout, and this was a bulldog inning by Mr. Luis Severino. He was howling there that we saw at Belly after that K. It was a grinded out at bat, a worthy at bat between two very talented players. We see a Sevy, of course, a Cy Young caliber player in the past. We see a Belly that's been an MVP player in the past and had a great first year in Chicago last year, but Sevy got him there, a huge strikeout. Back-to-back Ks would be massive, and then a fly out to Mr. Super Saiyan Suzuki, and that does it. We see Luis Severino get out of that jam unscathed and have himself a final line as follows: 6 innings of 3 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walk, 10 strikeout ball for a 3.29 ERA on the season. I talked about Luis Severino in our video earlier today, so make sure you guys check it out, but I'm telling you right now, it's going to take a lot for the Mets to part ways with Severino by the deadline, because right now he's one of those arms I just do not see happening whatsoever. Let's see. Edwin Diaz said he won't change anything he does as a result of being ejected for violating the foreign substance rules. He said he used rosin, sweat, and dirt, same as always. Talk that shit, Edwin. That is what I love to hear. I fully believe you. Again, Edwin is not the type where he needs to be doing this nonsense whatsoever, in my humble opinion. It just does not make sense whatsoever. Seriously, he doesn't need to do it. He doesn't. And again, this was a power trip by the umpires. I will take that to my grave. It was nonsense. No less, we see Luis Severino with pure dominance today in the pitching position, going 6 shutty with 10 strikeouts. No roster spot lost. That is good, at least. No replacement. Wait, hold on. Again, there is. We do lose a roster spot. That's the problem here. Oh, wait, no loss on the roster? Wait, I'm confused. Why are we not losing a roster spot now? What changed here on that front, everybody? Can someone enlighten me? Because I thought that we automatically lose a roster spot because of this. Someone enlighten me in regards to that, because I did not see anything to confirm that we don't not lose the roster spot. I'm pretty sure that we do. Steve, thank you for the $2 haul. Steve says McNeil should not see the starting lineup again. I tend to agree with you with the lack of production he's had, as consistent as he's been for a good period of time now. Let's see. McNeil has become Claude Rains, the invisible man. Thank you for the donation and the wordplay there, Dave. Greatly appreciate that. Cameron with the $2 donation says he can appeal the suspension. Yes, he can. Diaz not exactly control king. No, but nor is he a cheater, I'd rightfully argue at the same time. Nomi's Noda replacement cannot replace him on the roster. Okay, gotcha. Yes, that is correct. The Mets will be down a roster spot again for the next 10 days should he be out for that 10 days of suspension because they suspended him. The Mets do not get to fill that roster spot, which again further hurts their bullpen while they're already short after just losing Sean Reed-Foley to injury yesterday. But to reel back in this ball game, folks, because we're not done breaking it down, the Mets are still up 4-0 that we see here as we then get to the top of the 7th. And in the top of the 7th, Harrison Bader gets on for the 3rd time today, this time with a walk. He would reach second base on an error. Then we see JD Martinez reaches on catcher's interference, something that famously happens with him that we've seen. We won't talk about, of course, Wilson Contreras and quite literally just breaking his arm on a swing. Alonso then with a walk, so you got bases loaded, 2 outs in the top of the 7th for the Mets here. And unfortunately, Francisco Alvarez, facing a fresh reliever just brought in the ball game, pops out to end said inning. In the bottom of the 7th, we see, of course, Mr. Nunez come in relief, and Nunez, unfortunately, doesn't have a Nunez-type outing. Nunez, who has been awesome for the Mets in a lot of ways for the most part this season, has warranted him staying in the bullpen. He gives up a single and then a 2-run shot to Mr. Christopher Morel. His 15th home run of the season makes it a 2-run ball game. After that, we get to the top of the, top of the 8th. Vientos then with a solo shot of Mark Vientos. Got all that one. My goodness, my God, my gracious. Marky V might have had a defensive hiccup earlier in the game that was called a single there. I forget who it was for the Cubs, but it was because he played too deep there in the hot quarter. But if Vientos can make up for it with the bat the way that he has as consistently as he's been, like today, snapping that 0 for 14 skid, good things are going to happen. Marky V with an absolute blast, 450-foot bomb at a 109 miles per hour. Just a thing of beauty, a 28-degree launch angle. What can you not love about Mr. Mark Vientos right now? And that pure power, his 7th home run this season, a masterful home run here. Added insurance at the perfect time. And when you get an 88-mile-per-hour meatball right down the pipe, literally middle down the dick, the way that we saw Marky V get, how are you not ripping that thing for 450? So Vientos, shout out to you. Thank you for doing what you're supposed to do there, and we appreciate that greatly. Then we see it, we advance, we skip past the 8th and stuff. You know, Diekman comes in, all right, that's fine, whatever. We then get to the bottom of the 9th here. Edwin Diaz, again, he's thrown out for the sticky substance. And when you have guys like Clark Schmidt, when you have guys like Domingo Germán or the past year for the Yanks somehow get a pass where they're like, you know what, go wash your hands. You're not a usual suspect, we know that, so go wash your hands, right? Or even when you are a usual suspect, we'll still give you a pass and let you wash your hands. But not the case for the Mets here in Edwin Diaz, who has never been an offender of sticky substance once in his career reportedly. But no, we're just going to throw his ass out. Because we're going to throw his ass out. Because if it isn't a power trip on Sunday Night Baseball on that godforsaken broadcast covered by, I don't know, ESPN, I don't know what this is. This felt like truly a show like never before, full-fledged, and it's kind of funny considering when Max Scherzer was thrown out of the ball game against the Dodgers in LA a year and a half ago. You want to know where that game was broadcasted? ESPN. I could be wrong, but I'm like 80% accurate that that's correct because I remember seeing that on the broadcast, talking about it. Either way, it's a joke. I'm fed up with it. Edwin, justice for Edwin Diaz. He is not a cheater. I don't care what anyone says. And it's an absolute joke that we are not going to be without him for the next 10 games. What happened to Cole Sulzer? He's still in the minor leagues for the Mets. That's an arm I'm sure the Mets will certainly consider. But now, again, you don't have Sean Reed Foley. You likely don't have Edwin Diaz. And Drew Smith, he's a question mark. Of course, all these guys heading into the Subway Series matchup. That just, again, what makes this such a bummer and such a sour taste in our mouths, if you will. After winning a series fairly comfortably the way that the Mets did, yeah, exclude the 8-1 loss yesterday. The Mets didn't show up. You want to know why? Because Tyler McGill didn't show up. And sometimes when you don't get any pitching early and when you're in a 5-0 deficit, you just can't work yourself out of that jam. And then you add insult to injury to Jameson Taillon, who's actually working his pitches beautifully the way that he did yesterday. It is what it is. Everybody, thank you so much. We're almost at 200 likes in the live show on YouTube, everybody. Help us get there. We're just right around 50 to 60 away to my 600 concurrent viewers. We have roughly 2,000 concurrent viewers here, folks, both live on YouTube and on Twitter. Thank you to each and every one of you guys. It really does mean the world to me. Continue to let me know your thoughts on Edwin Diaz and this Metsian victory, winning by a final score here again of 5-2. Before we get into the pitching, the hitting, and all that great stuff, everybody, I'm going to take a quick 2 seconds to share with you all our awesome, amazing sponsor as well that many of you guys and gals know very well. And we just gave away a New York Mets jersey of any player that the winner wanted, all just for signing up to BetUS and placing a bet. And we had around 15 to 20 people enter. I told them to just send me an email, a screenshot of proof that you did your bet. We did a randomizer. The winner was chosen, and they are all set up and ready to go with their jerseys. So again, guys, we're going to be doing giveaways like that a lot. So how do you enter is by simply checking out our great friends again at BetUS. All you guys got to do is click our unique link in the description here live on YouTube. So if you're live on Twitter watching this, head over to the YouTube show, hit the link in the description down below there, and simply place a bet, everybody. And again, if you sign up today, you get a 125% bonus on not your first, not your second, but your first 3 deposits. And as you guys can see here, we're going to take a look at the baseball slate here for games tomorrow. If you guys want to tail my picks, by all means, go ahead. If not, that's perfectly fine too. Bet responsibly. I'm going to look for a nice 2-pick parlay tomorrow to get myself involved with. And we have a really exciting matchup. I'm not going to touch that one. It'll just be my bias with the O's when this can be coin flipped, go either way. The Guardians and the Orioles, two of the most exciting teams in the American League, not named the Yankees, for example, right now. Young, vibrant, exciting, playing to their level, playing above their initial level. In the Guardians' case especially, Mariners, Rays, that's a fun matchup. I like that a lot. Phillies, Tigers is a good one too. Tigers aren't playing terrible baseball. Miami Royals I like a lot as well, actually, for the Royals here. I'm going to take the Royals because I like the Royals. They did not do well today against Max Scherzer, but that's okay. You're not going to do great every game. I'm going to go with the Royals there. And honestly, for the sake of, hoping that they win, I'm going to go with the Padres because I want to see the Nationals continue to lose. I don't want to see the Padres win either because they're all in the wild card hunt. But again, if I had to pick a team, I want to see the Nats lose. So this is a 20-pick parlay that wins you 21. Good luck to everybody that tails these picks. And again, make sure you bet responsibly with our great friends that you can sign up today at BetUS. But to hop back in this one now, everybody, let's talk about it. Free Edwin Diaz. Let's get some spam in the chat right now. Free Edwin in the chat, guys. Thank you all so much. Well, if you're already signed up, you just need to place a new bet. If you're already signed up to BetUS, David, we will have other giveaway opportunities for you this season where you can get involved while also already being an active BetUS user. Yes, that'll be happening. Don't worry. But for now, with the last jersey giveaway we did, it was for new signups. So I would like to clarify that. But talking about pitching, everybody, let's get into it because we got a massive pitching report to get into, all thanks to my great friend that many of you guys know well on the channel, Isaac Rothman. And in case you guys and gals don't know Isaac Rothman, check him out on Twitter X at ISAACGROFFMAN for fantastic Mets pitching threads, breaking down different aspects of Mets pitchers, sneaky guys in the organization, the minor leagues, potential targets as well that we'll be talking about in the future, and everything in between. And he shares nightly reports with me, which is basically a lot of awesome information that you get that's beyond the eye test. A lot of this information comes courtesy of sites such as Baseball Savant. So, on the topic of Luis Severino and his brilliance today, let's break down how brilliant Luis Severino was and why. 6 innings of 3 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walk, 10 strikeout ball on 102 pitches. His arsenal tonight was as follows. 35% there that we saw with the sinker at 96 miles per hour and touched 97 where he topped out. Let's see. Give me 1 second here to make sure this is all set up. All right, we're good there. Then we look here at the four-seam fastball. 31% of the arsenal topped out 96. Sat 96 and topped out 98.4. Jesus. Sweeper, 19% of the arsenal, 84.5 miles per hour. Change up 10% of the arsenal at 86.1 miles per hour. Slide piece at just 4% at 86.1 miles per hour. And cutter at 1% at 93.3 miles per hour. Sevy only had 3 Ks in his last 2 starts, but he was a completely different, a completely dominant pitcher today. The same way that we saw Jose Quintana just decide to F around and have a baller outing in the Mets victory against Shota Imanaga and the Cubs in Game 1 of this series, right? Sometimes it just happens. And for Luis Severino, who gave the Mets length but did not give the Mets quality in his last start, where he gave up 6 earned runs over 6+ innings, Sevy returns the favor and then some today, the best way possible. Sevy, fantastic with that arsenal, completely different pitcher tonight. And what he did differently was the following. He increased his sweeper usage from 10% to 19%, and it had 30% whiff rate on it. He also had 6 more inches of drop on it tonight. This gave him a legit strikeout pitch for the first time in a while, which is why he has a K rate this season entering tonight's game of right around 6.5 or so. It's been underwhelming on the K percentage, but he's still been very successful because of his location and his ability to induce those ground ball outs the way that he has done so well this season. He slightly increased the four-seam fastball usage that we saw and used it as a strikeout pitch. You know, he blew 98-mile-per-hour fastballs by hitters for strikeouts multiple times tonight, something we simply have not seen a lot of him do this season. He threw that changeup a bit more as well, and it gave hitters a bit of a different look. It had less drop, but it made it resemble his sinker more and tunnel better, which is certainly a good thing. You know, he still used that sinker that we saw. You know, it's been his best pitch this season. When he has needed to, he has gotten those ground balls comfortably. This start was from Severino was his peak, you could rightfully argue. He used his sinker for ground balls while also showing flashes of his old self by blowing 98-mile-per-hour heat fastballs by these hitters. Isaac's grade today is going to be 8.5 out of 10. For me, I got to give him an 8.5 out of 10 as well. I think that is smack dab exactly where the Severino rating needs to be. Only reason why I'm not going to give him a 9 is because he didn't give me 7 innings. If he gave me 7 innings, that's a 9 out of 10. But 6 innings of just dominant baseball the way this was, that helped set the Mets up for victory early in this ballgame after getting the early lead, the 4-0 early lead that they got. That was huge. Luis Severino, thank you for your service today. No, I do not want you traded by the deadline, and I hope that if starters are traded by the deadline, which they more than likely will be based on that report we discussed earlier today, that Luis Severino is still with the team helping frontline this rotation with Kristen Scott, and hopefully by that point a newly healthy Kodai Senga for the downstretch of pushing for playoffs in the 2024 season. But he was awesome. And to get on to a bit on the bullpen here, it is as follows, folks. The word on Nunez may be getting out around the league because the Cubs hitters were sitting on that high-rising fastball he has, and Morel was really able to get at the top of the pitch, you know, that he hasn't been able to get to hit this year. So, unfortunately for Mr. Daniel Nunez, looked hittable today, but similar to Reed Garrett, where Reed was unhittable, then was completely hittable, Nunez might need to fine-tune some things to make sure that he is keeping guys guessing the way that the Cubs unfortunately weren't today in this 5-2 loss. Reed Garrett's ERA is now at 2.95. That's the first time it's been under 3 since May 29th. So Reed Garrett, of course, has not quickly, but has worked his way after an electric first month of the season and then a terrible May for the most part. Reed Garrett has come back into his own here. Again, utilizing that splitter and that sweeper when he's at his best and not having to be heavily reliant on that four-seam fastball, which can be a meatball at times, you know. And speaking of sticky substance, Isaac put stuff in here, and again, it's 100% accurate. He just touches on, you know, they really need to change how the MLB checks for sticky stuff. There are a lot of legal substances that you can get your hands on, like sweat and rosin, among others, and of course, it can vary in the stickiness by each pitcher on how much of they have on their hand to a degree, the heat, all these different aspects to the game. And yes, it's a joke to say the least that Edwin Diaz, our star closer, will be without us for probably the next 10 games. But all I know is this was a fantastic outing by the Mets as a whole. Edwin Diaz ejection aside, they did what they need to do here. And as we take a look on the offensive end, again, this is a Mets offense that has been red hot for quite some time now. And the reason why they have been red hot for quite some time now is because of the following, everybody. They have just been getting the job done in various ways. And when you look at the offense today, and what I've loved so much about it, I keep relaying this to each and every one of you, it's the balance of not only the singles, not only the doubles, but the home runs. Putting that all together is what's made this such entertaining Metsian baseball. They're getting in a groove. They're playing the way that they're supposed to play. Their lineup is playing unbelievably deep. And again, this is when you have plenty of games where not everyone is firing on all full cylinders. Just imagine the games where everyone is firing on all full cylinders, when no one, and I mean no one, is literally holding anything back. When those situations happen, good things happen. And for the New York Mets here, they get themselves not only a series victory, but they get themselves a comfortable victory today that very much so needed to happen. And now let's talk about the offense here, because the offense was fun, right? Francisco Lindor, again, had himself a very productive day today, thanks to the 2-run blast, including a pair of strikeouts, 241 average and 743 OPS on the season for Mr. Francisco Lindor. Brandon Nimmo, 1 for 4 with the run scored and the home run, the solo shot. Oppo going back-to-back to Oppo Taco with Lindor there, 244 average and 788 OPS on the season. JD Martinez, 1 for 4 that we see there, including a double and an RBI. JDM continues to do JDM things, and he has quite literally saved my life. I'm only half joking. I have loved JDM since the start of everything, and to see him in this Mets team now and to have the type of production he's been having, you know, pinch me, I'm dreaming, as someone that's been drooling over the idea of a JD Martinez DH in this Mets lineup for multiple years now. Even before it was universal, and I wanted the universal DH to be a thing, I refer to guys like JD Martinez especially, and even, going back, back in the day, Mike Napoli for Boston too, just big boppers, Nelson Cruz, etc., like just guys that are truly going to be in that position later on in their careers, especially JD Martinez, as Pete Alonso said himself on the broadcast today, as a true hitting savant, and we have to appreciate him for what he is. JDM with a 290 average and an 870 OPS on the season. Pete Alonso over 3 with a walk, 241 average, and 792 OPS. Francisco Alvarez 1 for 3 with the double on the walk. Alvy 286 average, 805 OPS. Where are all those Mets fans that told me that Alvy is just going to be such a mediocre hitter, right? It's almost like you care so much about such a little sample size and you don't pay attention to the whole sample size last year, and of course him free-falling with the contact after the Mets said we're not going to be doing anything after the trade deadline, where that's basically waving the white towel. That's it. That's wraps for the season. So guys tapped out of the season, including guys like Alvarez. But when you need them to step up, they're stepping the hell up. Alvarez with 25 bombs in his rookie season is kicking things off in his sophomore year post-injury the best way possible. Alvy, awesome stuff from you, my man. DJ Stewart, who honestly might not be here for too much longer depending on what the Mets want to do with this bench now field configuration. We see DJ 2 for 3, 189 average, and a 686 OPS on the season. Let me know in the live chat for people in the comments down below. Do you think DJ Stewart deserves a spot on this Mets roster post-trade deadline? Should the Mets still be competing for a playoff spot? Let me know in the chat. Definitely curious as to what your thoughts are there, everybody. We see Tyrone Taylor come in right field for at least an at-bat. Doesn't hit anything, though. 237 average, 630 OPS on the season. Mark Vientos, 1 for 4, including the solo shot, snapping that 0 for 14 skid. Marky V, 289 average and 870 OPS on the season. Then we see Jose Iglesias come in as a defensive replacement there at the hot corner, but did not secure an at-bat before the ball game ended. You know who did? You know who secured 4 at-bats and did absolutely nothing with them, the same way that's been the case almost every game out there? It's Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil 0 for 4 today, 212 average, 573 OPS, one of the worst OPSs. He has a top 5 worst OPS in all Major League Baseball right now. But yes, let's keep playing him. Enlighten me, everybody, because that makes sense. Harrison Bader, 2 for 3, with a couple runs scored thanks to some awesome doubles and a walk. Got on base 3 times today. Bader, 268 average and a 704 OPS on the season. Wardy, I admittedly am very happy to be wrong about Alvy. Guy's going to be the best catcher in baseball soon. There we go, Scott. That is what I love to see. Turning it around. I have been preaching this for so long, guys. I said it heading into the season. Francisco Alvarez is a top 5 catcher in Major League Baseball. He's a top 3 catcher in Major League Baseball. I think by the end of the season, he comfortably secures himself in that spot as a top 3 catcher. And I absolutely think that given age and potential, Alvarez is all the reason in the world to be the best catcher in Major League Baseball over the next couple of years. He has all the talent, he has all the tools, all the potential there. It's just about having it consistently staying healthy, and of course the Mets hopefully playing entertaining baseball throughout those stretches. But to get back into breaking down this ball game a little bit more, folks, let's wrap up the show by doing what I've been doing now for the past week plus, a new segment here at WardyNYM for post-game segments, as we are just under 10 likes away from 200 in the live show. Thank you all so much for that. Continue to smash those buttons. And again, thank you all so much for the endless support. Greatly appreciated my roughly 500 live viewers here on YouTube and my well over 1,000 live viewers here on Twitter. You guys are amazing. You really are. I'm so excited to get into more post-game coverage this season with each and every one of you. But let's wrap things up today with our little prospect report here. So let's start here in Port St. Lucie. Let's start in low A, where the Mets get absolutely pistol whipped today by the Mighty Muscles by a final score of 14-2. Mighty Muscles, that's a nice name on the wordplay. I like that. If there's anything that stood out there on the offensive end, it really wasn't much outside of prospect for the Mets, AJ Ewing. AJ, the Ohio native who was drafted by the Mets in the 4th round in 2023, had himself a 3 for 4 day. He's had himself a solid year so far at Port St. Lucie for the 19-year-old, repping right around at 850 or so OPS on the season. But that's really it there on the production of Mr. Ewing, and you got nothing from Mr. Houck, of course, who the Mets drafted with their top pick a year or so ago. really nothing there on the offensive end whatsoever. So we're going to go out of the Port St. Lucie tab. Then we're going to go here to the Brooklyn Cyclones as they defeated the Blue Claws today by a final score of 7-3. Dave, thank you for the $2 holla. Dave says, thoughts on JD Davis trade to the Yanks? I'm glad he's the Yanks problem now. And if he gets his game right with them, good for him. I'm excited to see JD Davis pinch hit against the Mets at Citi Field this week and strike out on a 94-mile-per-hour fastball down the dick by Jose Quintana, if he can even get to 94. So let's actually say Sean Manaea, for example. Either way, let's get into this ball game. And again, if he torches the Mets, you can clip that and call me an idiot because you're not wrong there either. But the Mets got nice production today, including one of my favorite outfield prospects, Nick Morabito, who was drafted by the Mets, of course, in the second round in 2022, has been fantastic as a contact and gap-to-gap cane. Batting .330 this season, had himself a 2-for-4 day today, and has his OPS up to .864 on the season for Nick Morabito. We absolutely love to see it there. On the pitching end, there isn't really much there to add on at the moment. So as we hop, into the Rumble Ponies here, some any key takeaways as the Mets lost this one 1-0. So literally nothing. Ruddock had himself a single. Alex Ramirez had himself a single. Ryan Clifford, one of, if not our best slugger in the minor leagues, I rightfully argue, has himself an 0-for-2 day, 183 average, but at 853 OPS. He's quite literally our Kyle Schwarber. We saw Tyler Stewart go 4 innings of 5 hit, 1 earned run ball, zero walks, 4 strikeouts there in Binghamton for the Rumble Ponies today, which is nice. He has a 4.72 ERA on the season, however. So Stewart, who was looking sharp over the past year or so in the minor leagues from the Mets, has been beaten up a little bit this season, but had himself a better outing today than what he has other times this season. But the big news today comes in Syracuse as the Mets falter to the Red Wings today. Not the Detroit Red Wings, but a Red Wings team. I'd be lying if I said I knew their affiliate. So someone let me know in the chat. I'm actually curious who the Red Wings affiliate is here in the minor leagues. No less. Oh, wait, Cruz? Oh, it has to be the Nationals then. Never mind. It's the Washington Nationals. That was easy to figure out once I saw their minor league system. And they have Travis Blankenhorn, former Mets legend, and Juan Yepez, former Cardinals legend. Oh, wow. They actually got some pieces there. Okay. Mets lost 3-2, but Mr. Luis Angel Acuna continues his fantastic month of July. Month of June. 3-for-4 with 2 RBIs today for Mr. Acuna, including a double, and now is batting .271 on the season with a 702 OPS. A true contact hitter that can hit for opposite field, electric speed on the bags, and can command multiple positions in the infield as he continues to work on his game. Luis Angel Acuna, it's not a matter of if, but rather when he will have an impact on the Mets at some point this season, especially called up if he gets reps at second base, because maybe a certain lefty batting second baseman is parted with by the deadline. Cough, cough, I wonder who that is. We see Luke Ritter 1-for-4 today. He's been a nice bopper there in the minor leagues for the Mets, like an infield option for them to consider if need be. Ben Gamble 1-for-4. He's been killing it as a true quality player right now. Gamble is an MLB caliber outfielder, but again, killing it at the AAA level. 314 average, 961 OPS. Brett Beatty went 0 for today, but has a 339 average and over 1,000 OPS in AAA. We saw Mike Brosseau 2-for-4. He's been killing it in AAA since the Mets signed him as a utility option coming over from the Brewers organization during David Stearns' time there, especially 288 average and an 855 OPS. And that's really all she wrote there on the offensive end for the Metsies. And Blade Tidwell today had himself a solid outing, still trying to work on the walk rate, and the swing and miss stuff isn't there yet at the AAA level for Mr. Blade Tidwell, who won 6 innings of 5 hit, 3 earned run ball, 3 walks, 1 strikeout, and a home run allowed against that being in the Red Wings today. We saw Max Kranick get 1 inning of relief. He has a 3.25 ERA on the season. He is a guy that may impact the Mets as a multi-inning reliever at some point this season. Looked great in spring training. Again, the New York native and the diehard Mets fan growing up. Well, unfortunately, injured list had him start the year on the injured list, and there went his chances of trying to impact the Mets early on in the season and had him work himself up. So he's more so of, maybe the Mets would consider him sometime in the near future because he can eat multiple innings. I actually wouldn't hate the idea of considering him, especially with Sean Reed Foley being out now, but we'll see what the Mets decide to do with Carlos Mendoza there and David Stearns as always. But we saw Blake Tidwell with a 5 flat ERA on the season, So again, still working on his game there at the AAA level. Not a guy that I would expect to impact the Mets rotation of any significance this season as things currently stand. But of course, things can drastically change should Tidwell get on a run and the Mets make the appropriate moves where it makes sense for them to do said call-up beyond a Kristen Scott and beyond, say, a Jose Buto. But everybody, before I wrap up the live show, I definitely want to know what is your final takeaway from this victory as, again, the Mets win by a final score, of course, of 5-2. They take this series here against the Chicago Cubs, and they look for more series victories in the future with a huge matchup starting this Tuesday against the New York Yankees. The Mets will be back live here. Tomorrow evening, probably around 6 p.m. Eastern, for a full Mets versus Yankees Subway Series preview show. That's very exciting to get into with my man Pat Hennessy, as always. And earlier in the day, again, in the Bleacher Report app, around 1 p.m. Eastern, your boy Wardy will be live breaking down my early Metsian trade deadline predictions. What do I think the Mets are going to do? Buying, selling, everything in between. I'm going to share some thoughts on that beyond what I already have here on YouTube at this point, and maybe surprise you with some of my thought process at the moment too, or maybe it'll be right on par with what you've known here on WardyNYM. Either way, make sure you guys chime in. Let's see. How do you disapprove a claim that has no proof to begin with? Zach says, Zach, what are we talking about, Zach, in the chat, everybody? Let me catch up. Oh, maybe it's a back and forth going on in the chat here. James, great member, how you doing? Let's see here. What's going on in the chat? Call up Krennic. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Krennic get an opportunity at some point this season. That'd be pretty cool. Tuesday night, bring on the Yanks. Absolutely. Those shows are going to be a lot of fun. Let me double check now, folks, with Anthony DeComo here on Twitter to see if Ant said anything that needs to be noted before we wrap up this live show. This is just Edwin Diaz on the ejection. The crew chief, Vic Carapazza, said through a poll reporter that Edwin Diaz's hand was extremely sticky and discolored. It definitely wasn't rosin and sweat, Carapazza said. We checked thousands of these. I know what that feeling is. I don't give a rat's ass, Vic. There's not a chance in hell that Edwin just decided to screw up and cheese tonight randomly after coming off the injured list while having the confidence issues that the man already has at times. Miss me with that bullshit, Vic. You're a saving face and you will be protected in the nonsensical union that you find yourself in. Now, to get on to the Edwin Diaz talk here, let's see what Edwin had to say on this ejection entirely. And I'm going to just put my phone up to the mic and have you guys listen that way because I don't think I'll be able to play the audio for you otherwise. Actually, I will try one thing, and if this doesn't work, it's not a big deal. I will just try to play it through my phone and let that be that. All right, folks, let's see here. Edwin Diaz on the ejection. Okay, that's not coming through, so give me 1 second. Maybe if I switch this, because my audio input is not on the proper setting at the moment. So bear with me 1 second, everybody, and then we will get rolling here. Headphones on. Let's get that checked. Desktop audio. Let's check that. Let's make sure it's headphones. It should be. Now let's hear this play. Nope, not going to work. All right, let's try this way then.
I just say I use the same thing always. I rub rosin, sweat, and I put my hand on the dirt a little bit because I need to have some grip on the ball. So that's why I was explaining to them, but they said it was too much thick. I understood. But at the end of the day, I was using like rub rosin, sweat, and put my hand on the dirt.
How surprised are you that it resulted in an ejection?
I was really surprised because I didn't have anything on my hand, my glove, my belt. Oh, they always check my hat, everything. And they thought that was sticky a lot. And I just said, hey, you can check my hand, smell my hand. They didn't say this smell anything, but they throw me out again.
How did your hands look compared to how they normally look?
Normally look like that always, yeah, because the rub rosin is I think the best rosin we have. We have two different rosin. I always use the rub rosin with sweat, and I put my hand on the dirt. That's why my hand.
So that's Edwin Diaz's comments on being ejected and now facing a 10-game suspension, everybody. Again, we'll be back live tomorrow evening. Until then, make sure you check out our video from earlier today. And again, thank you all so much to over our 2,000 viewers here live on YouTube and on Twitter for your generosity and for taking the time to make me a part of your nightly routine as the Mets win this one by a final score of 5-2. Thank you all so much, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow on Bleacher Report and live on YouTube. Until then, have a great rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. And this is your boy Wardy signing out.